welcome to the Sportira Cage. This is Calling the Audible. I am your host, GM Coletteros. With me, as always,
J Flo. James Floriani, nice to be with you.
And we have Sir Pizza Simpson.
Hi.
Very well.
I'm terribly sick and I appreciate being invited on camera today, BGM, but it's not today.
That's okay.
Nobody needs to see what I look like today.
You don't look sick, honestly. I walked in, I was like, Pease is looking mighty fine today.
No, I am atrocious. I was sweaty mess all
well,
day.
you're kind of tanned and red at the same time, so I feel like you have sunstroke more than you're actually sick.
I might be. It's too much golf. I'm done with football, so it's all golf now.
It's okay, I'm joining you there, so.
I was playing with Simo this week, so.
Oh, there you go, there you go.
With that in mind, we do have the quarterfinal matchups to go over. Just before that, since you're listening in, we do have the official announcements for the All-Star winners of the division. I know you have the list in front of you. Do you want to go over them one by one and we'll
for sure,
react?
For sure. So, I mean, no surprise here. The first one, first quarterback is Sammy Feeder from the Coyotes.
Definitely, honestly, like goes without saying, just full dominance throughout the season. A few minor hiccups, but great finish for them, and I think it was obvious from the beginning that Sammy was going to take this.
Yeah, Sammy's really a guy that's really taken that next step as a quarterback, and I think that his ceiling could be even a division higher. So we'll see if the Coyotes can move up. The second player on our list is another quarterback, Rich Humes from No Fly Zone.
Honestly, it's the same situation here. Top quarterback in Conference A, top quarterback in Conference B.
It's also, in this case, like Feeder is always put up those numbers. Here, Hume is really elevated by his cast. Like, he really used the pieces that he had to the best of his capabilities.
It's a well-built team, and
Yeah.
it's what supports Rich in what he does
and
completely.
he's leading that team, so it's
when you have a
pick.
dynamic duo like Eddie Martinez and Vinny O'Gallano, it's easier to put up those big numbers, right? So Rich has not always had that luxury, so now that he has that, you see that he's able to put up big numbers.
Sure.
Another player on our list, next player is the player who just broke the catch record with 21 receptions in a game, Yoni Lehner.
That's
Yoni
a
Lehner,
season for a lot of guys.
Yeah, that is a season for a lot of guys. We've joked around about it, but how do you let someone catch 21 passes on you?
that was my
No
when I saw that, I was like,
adjustments.
this must be a typo, or like this must be a stat
And
error.
like as a snapper who's not particularly fast, like there's teams that do that where they basically pinch the snapper and it's the worst, and you don't get any looks because there's limited routes guys like me or Yanni can run.
Yeah.
And like, especially that they're doing it, like just pinch the damn routes, guys.
No, absolutely.
He's running a hook or he's running it out. That's all.
He does have some height on you and some size.
I agreed, but I'm saying, but if you know it's coming, like it's not like
That's
you're
for sure.
worried about him running a corner
No.
or running a fly. Like it's this. He's going to be running a small variety of routes.
Yeah,
you know.
and you saw
he's great at doing it, but it's just what's coming.
For sure. Quickly going down the list here, rusher Alex Sarantola from Brocasian.
Yeah,
Your
without
call.
a doubt. A big reason about why we talk about that Brocasian defense. He comes in, he limits mobile quarterbacks. He's able to get there quickly, and for pocket passers, he's just one of the best rushers in the division.
Yeah, it's really his height that is an issue. I mean, he gets his hands high all the time when he comes running at you, and he has good makeup speed as well. Having played against him, like I know for firsthand. This next player kind of came out of nowhere. He didn't even play the whole season, but he just dominated when he was on the field. Vincent Lauzon.
Yeah, former Montreal Transit player, former teammate of Pisa's. If you see him play, you can attest firsthand that he's deserving of this award. I mean, just great routes, solid hands, and he does manage to get under the radar. Unless you know to look for him and say, hey, that's Vincent Lauzon, you wouldn't know until he's embarrassing you.
Before their playoff game, No Fly, Vinny and Rich and Eddie all came up to me and they were like, Jay Fuller, do you know who Vincent Lauzon is? Like, I can't recognize him from the picture. So,
He's got a big beard on now.
Definitely went under the radar there. Next player is Kevin Smuda from the Coyotes.
The Smood.
The Smoodster.
as he
is known now.
Honestly, if anyone who's seen Kevin play, like, you think that someone of his size just wouldn't be able to burn you on those deep corners and just get past those safeties, and he does it consistently with ease. with ease.
Yeah, I think he's kind of really helped Sammy Feeder as well as a second target, or even like a 1A, 1B type of thing with.
Well, he's
Josh.
He's helped that offense become more than a one-dimensional offense.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's made them a much more dangerous team.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Sammy Feeder's targets.
Yeah, speaking of Sammy Feeder's, and another Coyote is Andrew Langbird, who had a huge year on defense.
Defense as well. Receiving, you see he's there for those check down routes. He's a great person to hit in the intermediary when you're flooding everyone else deep because you know he's going to catch that pass.
Yeah, he has hops. He's very shifty, and he's a smart defender as well. So very deserving, Andrew Langbird. Next player, Matthew Rupchich.
Rupsick. Yeah, Rupsick Island.
There you go.
Every goddamn time.
Huge player for Stockton Slap. He's been consistent on a team that sort of needs someone to emerge and be that player when it's your first season playing together. When you have guys who aren't necessarily comfortable with each other, I think that he's definitely stepped up and been that person for this team.
Absolutely. Next player is your boy, Top Sauce's own Justin McLean, who had a monster year catching the ball.
And he's a guy, again, adding a dimension to an offense that was somewhat one-dimensional last season. So adding another speed threat to Chris.
And coming from a team like still teamless with Jonathan Brown, who didn't necessarily use him in his best manner, it seemed like Vince was the perfect quarterback for Justin, and Justin was the perfect receiver for Vince.
For sure.
Just put it up.
This next player is Pease's boy. He's 16 years old.
Yeah, he's not old enough to drink, but he's old enough to make the All-Star team.
By far the best player on their team, Juwan Agil.
And Juwan, had he played enough games, would have been running for receiver of the year. He only played 7 games.
Yeah.
We only added him in the third week because there was a couple of guys who dropped. There was guys who dropped from our team.
And he was catching the ball from
Simon, which is difficult, right?
He
catches the knuckleball.
Simon's radar went off, by the way. He turned around. And
he's like, are they talking about me?
It's never good.
Yes, we are.
No, by now, it's never good.
Next player, we got Dominic Benevento.
Yeah.
Quarterback in Division D and Division C. He's sort of the go-to guy, the utility player for Caleb Bees in a team that really didn't do a lot, unfortunately, in their opening year. He was that shining star that helped them just kind of stay consistent and
at least compete
stay in games. Yeah, exactly.
He was the B in the group of killer Fs.
And finally, our final player,
Chris Millard.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for Chris Millard.
Great rusher, great receiver, sort of that utility player that you can plug and play anywhere, and very happy to have him on my team, as well as the All-Star team.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
So with that, we go into the quarterfinal games now. The first one on the docket is Top Sauce, who are the 1 seed, against Brocasian, who are the 4 seed. They didn't really meet in the. They have not met in the.
There was no previous matchup. Yeah, absolutely.
So Top Sauce come into this with a 12-6, a defensive win over the 69ers. What are your thoughts on that game?
I mean, look, if you told me Top Sauce, you guys were going to score 12 points, no way did I think you guys would win that game. I mean, any playoff game really, if you score 12 points, you don't expect to win. But you guys managed to find a way. Which says a lot. It's an indicator that you guys can win different types of games, and in the playoffs, that's so important. And having your defense step up like that, really impressive. But against a team like Brocasian, who's experienced, they're not going to score just 6 points. So you guys are going to need to put it up a notch.
And the other team coming into this is Brocasian, who come off of a 36-34 win over Show Me Your TDs. A really close game. I know you guys were there for that one as well.
There was a situation here late in the game, Mike O'Donnell not having his flag belt on with a couple plays left. One of the few remaining chances to win the game. So really dumb play from a guy who's typically a really smart player. So it's a shame to see. But Brocasian did what they did best, took advantage of every opportunity.
Well, 2 pick sixes, right?
Yeah, 2 pick sixes, which is what you talked about.
That you called.
Or you called it, sorry.
You called. I'm going to give him credit. He called it. And yeah, I mean, look, if you throw 2 pick sixes in a playoff game, to me it's a miracle that it was such a close score after. But it is what it is.
So these 2 quarterbacks now, Vince Nardone and Christian Charantola, how do you compare them? How do these 2 square off against each other?
I mean, Nardone's more a pocket passer. Yeah, he moves around when he needs to, but he's more a pocket passer, whereas Sarantola is a runner. Both styles work. They're comfortable with what they do, and they should stick to that. But then again, we've seen both quarterbacks struggle at times this season, and when Vince struggles, it really it's really ugly. Exactly. Like even on the stat sheet, you see like less than 50% completion, whereas Christian Sarantola tends to maybe throw a few picks, or just not really throw a lot of yards. They both have their strengths, both have their weaknesses, but who's a big who's going to show up in the big game?
And this here too, I like this matchup personally for Top Sauce because the size difference that they'll have, like Brocasian are somewhat diminutive, whereas Top Sauce have a lot of big players, so it opens up a lot of windows. Sorry,
maybe. No, keep going.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
I was going to cut you off.
But essentially, what that does is it gives a larger margin of error to a quarterback like Vincent Nardone, who'll be able to put it up for his guys to make plays for him.
Okay. So you mentioned those receivers. On the one side, you have John Louis, Kyle Lebowski, Justin Sarantola, and Mark Provo. On Top Sauce, you have Justin McLean, Chris Mial, Carl Nardone, and myself, with Maxime Giroux, who is a day-to-day right now with the injury that he's currently undergone.
And if Maxime's back, that's obviously a huge piece because it makes the offense much more explosive. It adds another guy who can just put 40 yards
the top off of the defense. But no, like what I was going to say is, would you consider Eskimo Brothers to be a tall team?
No.
Because they completely shut down Top Sauce and made Vince look very human.
Yeah. Which
I would compare the Eskimo defense to Brocasian's defense a bit. And I would even say Brocasian, they have a better defense.
Yeah, but how much of that was Eskimo Brothers playing well, and how much of that was Vince Nardone beating himself?
Showing up late.
Not beating himself up. Beating himself.
I also played defense in that game, so you were in dire straits when.
Yeah.
And on the defensive side, which defense? So you've got the Brocasian defense, who are touted, who have those 7 pick sixes throughout the season. You have the Top Sauce defense, which really limits the opposition from scoring to begin with. Who do you like? Like, how do these two defenses neutralize the opposing offenses?
Honestly, I do like the Brocasian defense better. To James's point, this is where Brocasian will have the advantage because Top Sauce gives you their look. You know what they're going to run every single time, and if you commit to it and you don't mind marching down the field and trust yourself to not make the mistake that they're forcing you to make, then you'll get off okay. Whereas Brocasian actively forces you to make mistakes. They're going to jump gaps. They're going to be all over the place. So honestly, just stylistically, I prefer the Brocasian defense.
Do you think that Sarantola has the patience to kind of march down the field and take what the defense gives them? And
we'll discuss that in predictions.
Okay, fair enough.
Are we in predictions yet?
Yeah, we can do
that. No, he does not. I think he'll make the mistake. I think despite the fact that it's all laid out for Brocasian to win the game, I think what's going to happen is that Vince Nardone's going to have a big game. Sarantola's going to make a few mistakes, and Vince Nardone will be able to take advantage of the size mismatch that they will have against the Brocasian defense.
Fair.
So how close do you see this game being?
Close, though. I see it being more similar to the Brocasian SMYTD's game than the Top Sauce 69ers game. Sort of 36... 33.
You see that many points? I don't see
do.
Many points,
I see a lot of points.
Yeah?
Because there's going to be picks, so there's going to be extra
short fields,
extra possessions, and both these teams are generally offensively proficient. Let's pretend the first week of play didn't happen in the playoffs for Top Sauce because that's an aberration. That's not what they look like typically.
I mean, yeah, and it's been whenever Top Sauce has struggled on offense or Vince has struggled, you guys have kind of bounced back the next week. So I definitely do expect a bounce back game from Vince. That being said, I do think that Brocasian's defense will be a little too much, and they're going to cause a mistake. And I'm sure your defense will cause a mistake as well. But I just see Brocasian winning a very close one, just because of how long they're together. They just know how to play with each other.
That's fair. Next game coming up, also a 1 seed, No Fly Zone, who are the 1 seed, against No Name, who are the 7 seed. Their previous matchup was in Week 10. It was a close game, but No Fly Zone won it 33-25. What do you take away from that game going into this?
I don't take much. Personally, it was a weekend game.
And it's also the way No Fly Zone plays. Is the first half, they kind of let you do what you want to do so that they can adjust in the second half and take it away. And that's why a lot of times the scores are closer than they otherwise would be. Because when you see these two rosters, you would be surprised that this game was as close as it is. That said, No Fly Zone now has a complete inventory of what No Name is.
Yeah. And if a team's going to adapt, it's going to be No Fly Zone.
It won't, exactly, because that's the thing they do. Exactly. That's their greatest strength, despite all the weapons. The thing they do well is they're all incredibly intelligent. They're all high division players, and they're very communicative on defense, especially. So they're going to make a lot of they're going to adapt really well. And No Name is going to self-destruct because they won't be able to handle that. This is what I think will happen. They did surprise me this past week because they handled adversity very well.
Exactly. So they went into this game having won 18-12 over former Tomahawk.
Holding the 12 points is impressive considering they've been on fire.
They are still No Name are now officially the low seed in the in the playoffs and the underdog essentially.
Yeah. And Mike Roy rebounded really well after throwing an early interception. We've seen him implode after that kind of situation. So it was nice to see him actually take a leadership role, step up, and use the guys around him. Rob White had a great game on defense. He took away a play at the end of the first half on the sideline where he closed on the ball super quick, knocked it out of bounds.
Rob White is better than people give him credit for.
But honestly, that and he elevated his game. It was nice to see. I'm happy seeing No Name succeed. Despite all the things, all the jokes and whatever, and each week that from this point on will be a surprise because they are the underdog. That said, underdog stories are nice. I'm personally happy when I see the teams we don't expect to win do well. Jim, you say it all the time.
Yeah. Rob White has a championship as an underdog team who went in as the last seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody loves a good Cinderella story. So
on the opposite end of the Cinderella story is the
sisters don't.
I was about to say the ugly stepsisters who are, I guess, No Fly Zone in this case, who won by 40-6. So that's the other end of the Cinderella story spectrum. They come into this superbly confident.
But that was a great matchup for them, though. They played against a team that was a very, very one-dimensional. They basically limited Vincent Lauzon, and we saw basically what we expected from No Fly Zone.
So how do you compare these two quarterbacks the same way we compared Charantola and Nardone, Roy and Humes? What do you think here?
Rich Humes is a little non-traditional. He uses his feet to open windows. He's not necessarily a quote-unquote mobile quarterback. He's not looking to run, but he will look to stretch the holes in your zones. Whereas Roy will basically sit in the pocket. He's tall, so he can deliver over your rusher, over the middle of the field. He throws a really hard ball, so it cuts through the holes in zones. So very different styles of quarterback.
Between the two receiving core, when you think of No Name right away, you think of Grizzly, Beausoleil, Collins, Rob White, who we mentioned before, Eddie Martinez, Corey Wolwoski, Vinny Gulano, Steve Sanner on the other side. Whose offense do you like and why to march down the field?
No Fly Zone. Just Eddie Martinez is a beast. Having the privilege of throwing at him in Division A for a few games there, I could tell right away that this guy, I would love to have this guy on my team full time. Yeah. He has great hands, runs great routes. He fights for the ball. He gets to every ball, it seems like.
And the thing is, he is a really nice guy, and that's part of the reason he's not as well known is because he looks like Anthony Adona's biological father.
Definitely. I can see that.
But he's always smiling. He's a happy guy. He's a chill guy. So he's not.
Awesome.
He doesn't have sort of the game face, except that is his game face.
Absolutely.
And he always delivers.
He's a dominant receiver. Vinny. What could I say about Vinny? Another guy who's just a dominant receiver, runs awesome routes, catches pretty much anything you throw to him. And just having those two is superior to any receiving core and see just those two guys. And then you add Sanner.
Look, fair. But Jonathan Grizzly,
he's a good player. He's a great
Division
player.
A, Division 1 caliber.
Yeah, he's a great player. I'm not taking
Jared Beausoleil not as well known, but very good, especially a slot receiver, especially in the intermediate areas. Very good with the ball in his hands. And again, Rob White is underrated. So I mean, I would agree with you, James, but I don't think the gap is necessarily as wide. Like, it's not obviously NFC. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's closer than you would think. Like, Beausoleil and White are not two guys that you think of necessarily the same way you think of Steve Sander, the same way you think of Vinny Galano, but the guys who are up
they're
solid
players.
and Beausoleil is a guy who's up and coming.
Which rusher do you think has the bigger task at hand going into this game? Simon Laporte going after Rich Humes, or KSP going after Mike Roy and trying to get to him quickly before that ball gets out?
KSP is going to be irrelevant because he's too short, and like he's actually a fantastic rusher. He's great at taking away angles. I hate playing against him because I know when I'm playing against him, I'm going to have 3 less targets because he undercuts the snap routes on his way to the quarterback. He's incredibly intelligent. It won't matter because Mike Roy is essentially 7 feet tall. So basically, it's like trying to rush the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. You're not going to get there.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you for pretty much the same reasons, and because
I made sense
for once. And obviously Rich Humes holds onto the ball longer than Mike Roy does. That being said, Rich Humes is a great athlete in his own right, and he's able to make rushers miss.
He's charming.
Very much so, yeah. Very nice hair, he's
beautiful.
So how do you guys see this game playing out?
Okay.
You do it first. I kind of already did, but you go first.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
You go first second, and then I'll go second.
I see this game starting out maybe a little bit close. If No Name wants any shot at winning this game, they cannot let No Fly Zone take a 1 or 2 score lead. They need to score first, no matter who starts with the ball, because then things will be forced. There will be turnovers. There will be plays made on defense by No Fly Zone, 100%, and from there it has the potential to get ugly. I'm not saying it will, but if it starts snowballing, this is going to be a blowout.
I think No Name essentially have to be
perfect,
errorless in this
error-free.
game. Exactly.
They got to be perfect.
To me, what they need to do, they can't show what they showed last time around. They're gonna have to win this game schematically. No Fly Zone's too smart. If they've already have, like I said, a complete inventory of what No Name is capable of their plays, of their looks, of their concepts. Different. You need to do something different, and you need to have something ready for the second half. That is different from what you did in the first half, because you're going to get away with it for 22 minutes. You're not going to get away with the same thing for the entire game. They're just too smart.
That's a good point. Having 2 game plans, essentially.
Yeah. You're going in, you're playing 2 22-minute games.
Yeah.
Plus 10 plays.
I like it. So we have the Coyotes, who are the 3 seed, who are up against Honey Badgers, who are the 2 seed, and I don't know why on the schedule that appears that way and not the other way around. But
Coyotes coming off a very impressive win.
Yep, very impressive. 30-0, a shutout.
Yeah, shutout win in the playoffs.
How do you see this game sort of? How do you see that sort of affecting them? Do you think that the week off will have them rested and ready to go, or will they be a little bit more complacent?
Yeah, I think this goes against. I don't think any team wants a bye week when they're not expecting one. I think it might. It has the potential to be an issue for a team that, as a new team or a team that has not maybe played as long as the Coyotes have. But having Sammy Feeder throw to his brother Josh Feeder, I don't think that a week off makes any difference whatsoever in that case. And maybe they'll come off a little nervous, or not nervous, but just a little a little rough around the edges for the first drive or so. But after that, I don't see an issue.
And the Honey Badgers close win over Eskimo Brothers. How do you think? How does that put them coming into this game?
It was an impressive win. Very impressive win. It gives them a boatload of confidence, beating a team that is very talented, and they were coming off some impressive wins. So for Honey Badgers to step up like that in the playoffs, holding a team to 21 points, and they're coming off sky high right now, coming in sky high.
So Eskimo Brothers beat Coyotes.
Yeah.
Honey Badgers beat Eskimo Brothers. Does that mean that if A is A to B, B to C, A is to C, will they beat them?
It doesn't always work that way, though.
Yeah,
I mean, every game has its own.
Exactly.
Everything has its own momentum and its own flow, and it's, as James said, the matchups are independent regardless of previous encounters and regardless of previous results.
absolutely.
Between these two quarterbacks, both award-winning quarterbacks, both championship quarterbacks in their own right, Doug McKernan and Sammy Feeder, who do you like in this?
I'm going to go ahead and say Sammy Feeder. I just like the fact that he can score from anywhere. If Doug McKernan has the lead, he is probably the most dangerous quarterback in the division. He's that guy at the poker table that you see with a tall stack of chips that you want to stay away from. But that said, Doug Feeder.
Sammy Feeder
Sammy
or
Feeder.
Doug McKernan?
I told you, I'm not feeling well, guys.
Okay.
Sammy Feeder is the kind of guy who's going to put up points right away. So if he does that, that favors Feeder.
I think it's a lot like the no-fly zone, no-name game in the sense that if Coyotes get up to they get up to 2-score lead, I think it's ball game. I don't think that Honey Badgers can play from behind from a 2-score deficit. That being said, if Honey Badgers can get the lead, then I think this is very dangerous game for the Coyotes.
So between the two offenses, for the Coyotes, you have Smuda, you have Feeder, you have Langbert, you have Knowles, who, by the way, we don't talk about, but he has, throughout the season, 14 catches for 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So another weapon in his own right, going up against the receiving core of Dow, Anderson, Moses, and Gilmore, those four who have been the sort of workhorses for that team as well. Who do you give the edge to? Do you have the speed and the touchdowns, or do you have the size and the sure-handedness?
As individual players, I like the Honey Badgers players better. As a team, as a unit, I like the Coyotes better.
I think as a fit for the system.
Exactly.
I think the Coyotes receivers work better for that offensive system than the pieces
and Moses for
exactly. They're kind of lost talent on that team.
Exactly.
We had a tweet in, guys, from Brett Callender. He says, "Happy birthday at JFlow Music MTL." So
my boy,
you're old now.
Yeah,
enjoy.
I'm kind of old. 25 plus club.
He says, "Fellas, which QB has the toughest challenge this week?" That's the first question. So we'll answer that one first, and then the next one's related to this game. So then I'll bring up the next question.
We talk about how adaptive the no-fly zone defense is, and I guess it's got to be Mike Roy at this point. I mean, he needs landing permission in the no-fly zone. He's got to throw those touchdowns.
Nice.
Yeah. Well done.
I enjoyed it.
Not to be boring, but I definitely agree with that. I mean,
God, you're the worst.
Well, yeah, I'll pick one just.
Nice. That's what I want. That's what I want you to do.
I'll pick another one. Okay. I'm gonna say Vince Nardone. I'm gonna say Vince Nardone.
Having just come off two passing touchdowns.
Yeah, having come off 2 passing touchdowns, having come off like a really, really bad game
against a great defense, against a defense that's been causing problems for everyone.
Yeah, but he didn't play a great defense. He played a good defense. I know, exactly. And now he gets to play a great defense in Brocasian.
We're seeing the same thing differently.
with ball hawks all over the field. So, I mean, Vince needs to step up in this game, and he needs to he needs to have confidence in himself, in his arm, and in his play calling.
I'm going to say Doug McKernan. We forgot you existed as a quarterback, and you're going up against a real stud. Doug, remind us why you were great once. Now, that said, there's a question about Doug
I also
McKernan.
like that this is the last possible podcast that we could have tweet-ins, and we've had none up until now, and we finally got one.
Well,
Thank you, Brent.
Brent Callender's clearly
Brent's the
finished
man,
classes.
though, so I'm not even surprised.
Can Doug's offense confuse the Coyotes' defense? In his broken plays and continuing.
I don't think it'll confuse them.
Confuse? No.
Yeah.
They need to find. They need to exploit the weaknesses. They need to find that matchup and really key on it and continue attacking. It's not going to be about confusing
But the thing that Doug does well is extend plays.
And he's very elusive. Yeah, he's really good at making the rusher miss.
He was a Division I, Division A receiver. Like he's good at avoiding guys trying to get his flags.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that makes him dangerous as a quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Matt Barsetti, one of the rushers who comes into these quarterfinals with the least amount of sacks of the remaining rushers. Is he enough to disrupt is he enough to disrupt Sammy Feeder?
In a sense, yes. Again, Feeder gets rid of the ball pretty quick, but Barsetti is one of these guys. He's a smart tactical rusher. We talked about that before with Kevin St. Pierre. Obviously not the same level as he's still developing, but he's come a long way from Division E last summer. So given that this is his third season, he's already learned quite a bit. I was really impressed with him this season. So I think there's definitely a chance. However, I don't think that the rusher affects Sammy Feeder that much.
And on the other side, the big question mark, Doug McKernan, who you said who thrives on extending these plays on avoiding tackles. The sack leader for Coyotes, Dylan Weiss, only has 4 games played and therefore is not eligible for playoffs. So, who's gonna rush Doug?
Did they have 7 players?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the 7th guy.
Yeah, whoever the 7th
last guy in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough because you can't. Doug won't just stay contained in the pocket.
No.
He's gonna move, and you need a guy who cuts off angles and who's gonna just push him to the sideline and minimize gains and force him to one way and limit his reads. And it's a tall order on any rusher.
So with that in mind, how do you guys see this game playing out?
I mean, look, I don't see Coyotes putting up a ton of points. I do think I really like the Honey Badgers as a defense. Even as a team, I like them. It's just there's something holding me back here. The Coyotes just have too much firepower, I think, and too much chemistry together. And but I do think this game will be close. A 1-score game. It'll come down to the last possession. And I do see Coyotes winning this game, something like 32-26 kind of thing.
Leave chemistry to Brian Cranston. It doesn't mean anything. Here, essentially, I think for the same thing that you said, that it's going to be lower scoring than you'd expect, I think that favors Honey Badgers. Give me Honey Badgers in this one. And they're the underdog, but not really, so I'll take the underdog in this one.
Okay. And the last game before we quickly sign off because we're running out of time, but no big deal, forfeit. Stockton Slap will advance to the semifinals.
I choose no big deal.
Yeah, it's too bad. It's really too bad. I mean,
it's no big deal.
It's no big deal. But look, if you
Jake Applebaum.
Well,
towards ACL.
really
best
ugly.
wishes to Jake on the recovery. It sucks to see a guy go down like that, especially a guy like Jake, a really nice dude, and had to happen to his other knee. And it's just a shame that such a great team who had the potential to take it further. They beat No Fly Zone. They had the potential to win the championship, and now forfeit out of the playoffs. Really shame.
With that in mind, before I go ahead and end this podcast abruptly, as I always do, if you win this week, find a media representative.
We'll all be there.
We will all be there. Talk to us about the press conference. We need to arrange that with you and have a representative come here through the Sportiera cage for the press conference. And
Let's end this abruptly.
Let's end this abruptly.